Hello and welcome to another episode of Unstoppable Overcomers. Tonight's sponsor for our show is the Commodity Rescue Mission raffle. Purchase your t-shirt today for $100 and get your 6-month Freedom Boat Club membership raffle thrown in. It is, if you're not in the Winter Haven area, don't worry about that. We've got you covered with over 350 locations. You can use it up to 4 times per month. So go to www.tcrmi.org/shop to purchase your several tickets today to help our veterans with their PTSD and to help fund our programs. As well as we have Dr. Joseph DeTore with his book, It's Secrets in Depth. This book is filled with rich and detailed information on this gripping military factual thriller that shows the depth of darkness acquired after 3 decades of service. Definitely get your book today on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. With that, because, this night has been amazing, and we're just going to keep rolling with changes. And so normally we do the fundamentals at the end of the show. This time, we're going to do the fundamentals at the beginning of the show. But before I hand it over to Kimberly, I want to definitely acknowledge our special guest, Mr. Scott Hendrick, to the show. So thanks for being here, Scott.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So Kimberly, take it over with the fundamentals.
Great. And thank you. Thank you both. And just, I know I'm the roving reporter. So guess where I'm reporting from tonight? Virginia. We're in the lovely state of Virginia. Yes. So there you go. Woo, woo to Virginia. With that in place, you'll notice that I don't have anyone with me in Virginia. And that is because inside of Labor Day and inside of the celebration of labors, right, and who Liberty OV is, we're giving this space and time, this extra space and time fully over to Scott and what they're creating at Liberty OV so that people can hear about them, and we're gifting the sponsorship section to Scott and Liberty OV. So Scott, please share about Liberty OV.
Wow, that's so blessed to be part of this. Thank you so much for the opportunity. My name is Scott Hendrick. I am the COO of Liberty Organization for Veterans and Emergency Responders. And what we do is we specifically work with folks who are suffering from PTSD, right? So you guys know Janelle Royster, Dr. Royster. Her and I have worked tirelessly to develop a protocol that can be administered on the peer-to-peer level. And then what we're trying to do is replicate that and create force multipliers throughout our communities. So we can create organic in-house, repair capability for people who are suffering with PTSD from within their own department or a veteran organization. So that's what we do. How we operate is we stick to a very staunch rule that 70% of all of our donations go exactly right back to the veterans and emergency responders. So we do not charge a single person to receive this protocol, right? So we developed it, and now we've published and copyrighted it, and now we're taking this nationwide, and we're not charging our veterans. They've already paid enough, as well as our emergency responders. Our veterans and emergency responders signed an unlimited liability contract, right? That means they're willing to die for our country or serve and protect our communities. No questions asked, right? And if that means giving their own life, then that's what they have to do. That cost is way too high, right? It's you can't put a value on that, right? So for people to sign up for that is truly amazing. And what better way for us to honor that commitment and honor that that love for their country and their community by offering this for free. So every donation that we get, we pay straight back to clinical services to be able to offer this for veterans and emergency responders for free. And then what's left over, which is kind of tough to grow our organization, is the 30%, right? So we take that to make more opportunities for our organization so we can in turn pay for more people to receive clinical services. So Liberty OVE, that's what we're doing. One of two things I always say: you either know someone who has PTSD or you have it yourself. It's that rampant. It's everywhere. And I think it's right up there with, some of the most concerning causes in the nation and the world today, because there's not a lot of tools to be able to process this. Yeah. And so we've developed that tool, and that tool is extremely efficient to the tune of like 97%. The reason it's not 100% is, when you're dealing with mental health and mental health services, there are some things that can compound and make it a little bit more difficult for people to get through, right? You have bipolar schizophrenia and multiple personality disorder. There's a whole list of things that could play into this. But for the most part, we can say, over 2 clinical studies that we've done, 250 people, the efficacy rate is a high 97%. And we're super, super happy about that. So that's what we are. That's who we are. That's who we service. And that's what we do. So, if you would like to, you can go on to www.libertyove.com, and you can sponsor a veteran, emergency responder, police, fire, EMS. You can go on and donate, and we'll set that aside so we can pay for those clinical services to have people get back to living the life that they were put on this earth to live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful, perfect. And there's no limit, right?
No, there is no limit. We have a huge benefit concert coming up. We have 2 national acts that'll be in Richmond, Virginia. Hey, that's where you are. And we're looking to raise $50,000 to $60,000. Imagine what we can do. We're talking about go from helping 2, 3, 400 to 4, 5, 6, 7,000 people with clinical services, which is truly amazing. So, head over to libertyove.com. There's one more shameless plug for that. Check out all the programs we have. If you want to learn more about the Trauma Recovery Intervention Protocol, there's a tab at the top called TRIP. Feel free to do that. You can send myself an email, and we'll be in touch with you. There's also a Get Help Now button. So if you are struggling, or you know somebody who's struggling, you can get them over to the website, and they can get help now. It sends me directly an email notification, and then I'll reach out to one of our 30 practitioners that we have on staff, and we can get you taken care of within, hour and a half, 2 hours max.
That's fantastic. That was perfect. All right. So are you ready? Are you ready to share your fundamentals?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm always ready. They're giving me grief because they said ask for 3. And I gave 2. Brevity is a strong point of mine. So yes, absolutely. So in the spirit of, overcoming, being unstoppable, doing those things, intensity is important, right? But it's not the only thing, because without long-term consistency, it doesn't matter how much intensity you're going to have. It's that consistency, right? So one of the values that I have that I had to display, I just ended a 26-year career in the United States Air Force, is consistency. I had to be consistent day in and day out, every single day, keeping my goals, long-term, short-term goals in mind. And what I'm doing every single day is that a stepping stone to get me where I want to be. I was sharing with you guys that my son is training for the Junior Olympics for a swim. And we talk about the exact same thing, about being consistent. You can put in all the intensity in the world, but if it's very short-lived, you're not going to experience a lot in life. And the next thing is determination, right? Grit. This is a wonderful, wonderful story, and this is where I learned my determination from. So when I was a senior in high school, we're not going to name the year just so we can be, we don't need to speak of that.
It doesn't matter.
It was a while ago. So,
not matter.
Christmas Eve, 1994, my father experienced a double brain aneurysm, and I had to provide life-saving, services on him Christmas Eve upstairs in our house in Tappahannock, Virginia. Short story long is, I didn't know this at the time, but he was going through a double brain aneurysm. We got him into surgery. 14 hours later, they were able to clamp off one. They were able to slow down the other one, and he actually lived, right? And so he had to let his body heal for 6 to 8 weeks. And then right around the 10-week mark, they went back in and did another brain surgery. So we're, a couple months into this, right? Started in December 24th. In June, first week of June, my father was a construction worker. And he went back to work. Not, 6 months later after having double brain surgeries, roughly 2-3 months apart. And that, to get up every single day and continue to provide for his family, just sheer determination to take care of his roles and responsibilities as a father was, I saw that growing up. I saw him, waking up and struggling because he was a construction worker. And, I worked with him my senior year right after I graduated high school before I went into college. And, I woke up in the morning and he's sitting there and he's holding a cup of coffee around his hands. And because he had arthritis, right? And he was a little bit older. They waited to have me. And he would sit there and the coffee would warm up his hands so he could use them, right? Because that was his tool. His body was his tool. My father never graduated high school. He was a brilliant man, well. When it comes to ideas and concepts and things of that nature, he could build stuff in his head. He was brilliant, right? He didn't have a piece of paper hanging on the wall to say he was brilliant, but he was brilliant. And he looked at me and he said, Scott, he said, your body is a finite resource. As he's holding this cup of coffee. And he says, your brain is an infinite resource. And from that point forward, I was like, oh, wow. Like, right, that was an epiphany for me. And I went on to drop out my first year of college, so I didn't learn a good lesson there. But I joined the military, right? And I went on to get 3 degrees after that. So that is something that, like you kind of said, what do you want to pass on to your kids? The consistency is huge. The determination is even more important. And then the last one, the third one, because everything has to happen in 3s. I learned that in the military.
We have 3.
We have 3. Even though I tried to get by with 2, that's not going to happen.
We tried, but we didn't let you off the hook. Yeah.
So we talked about consistency, which is hard, right? It is extremely hard to wake up day in and day out and bring it. I'm talking about bring it, right? And then determination is you're getting that, you're taking shots, right? It's gonna have hard days. You're gonna have miserable days. You're gonna have days where you just want to give up. And so with some levity to the last one is you got to give yourself a break. You literally have to give yourself a break. You cannot be 1,000% focused all the time, 1,000% driven all the time. There has to be levity in your life. You have to be able to laugh at yourself, right? I think Dorothy's laughing. I can't tell if Dorothy's laughing at me or laughing with me or at.
Doesn't matter, right? She's just laughing.
But
I was laughing at this entire day. Wow.
Yeah, is if you can't give yourself a break and cut yourself some slack, then it just compounds. It compounds and it makes those other 2 exponentially harder to fulfill. And so, to the greatest extent possible, we have to remind ourselves that, we need to recharge. We need to recharge, right? And this is a constant reminder. So right now my phone is at 50%. Every single day we know what our phone charge percentage is. However, very few of us understand or know what our own battery life is. And so if we took as much effort as to keeping these charged as we do our own bodies, I think we'll be well better and a high-functioning, high-performing individuals because self-care is important. I was working with a young lady who's helping us with the concert this week, and she's sending me emails at like 8:30 at night, 9:30 at night, I'm Central, she's Eastern Standard Time, and I send her a message. I'm like, look, stop, unplug. It'll be there tomorrow. We'll get it. I promise you, we'll get it. Unplug. It's not worth it, right? It's not worth it. So, and you have to know what self-care fills you up. That's huge. And so, for me, I'm a water guy, right? I love being on the water. I love going out on the boat. Even if it's just going down, dropping the kids off to school in the morning and going down and parking by the water and just sitting there, right? I mean, and just taking that in 10, 15 minutes. Self-care doesn't have to take all day. It doesn't have to, be this daunting task. It could be 10, 15, 20 minutes. Whatever it is to fill you up, energized, plug in your battery, and get back to, taking care of what you need to take care of.
Brilliant. Brilliant. You nailed it.
He
And I
nailed
knew
it.
you would. Mic drop moment. Well done. And it really, I just got
Thank
to
you.
commend you on the levity one, like that, like the one you didn't have, right? It literally is the yeast in the bread of the other two. And I just really love that you created it as levity, right? Because it really is unique and orchestrated by each and every one of us, moment by moment, right? Like what it might be for me today might not be what it is for me tomorrow.
Absolutely.
So just to put it in such a beautiful package of levity was brilliant. So thank you. We love you. And with that, Dorothy, back to you.
Well, thank you, Miss Kimberly. And normally this never happens this way. So I know that you have to get going. So we love you. We appreciate you, and thank you so much for doing the fundamentals with us and being able to switch so that we can at least get you on, because that's the main part. Whether the fundamentals are at the beginning or the end doesn't matter as long as we have them. So
thank you.
We started the show with fun.
Yes, and the mentals, right? Which is a perfect segue into what he's going to get to share with everyone tonight. And I just want to finish by saying happy Labor Day to everyone. We love you. We know you've been laboring. We know who you are. We know who our audience is. We know how amazing you are. And so God bless you. We love you. Take care of yourself. Make sure you have levity in your day today and this last weekend. And enjoy all the fruits of the labors. And we love you.
Bye, partner. All right. Well, that was awesome. I almost don't know what to do because I'm so used to doing it the other way. Now I'm just so mixed up. But, okay. So we have a little bit of sense of who you are, Scott. Other than an all-around amazing guy here. So you did touch briefly on it, but you did tell us a little bit about your military career, because I know that's where your story kind of began. Tell the rest of the audience that maybe didn't hear the first 15 minutes who Scott Hendrick really is. That's usually how I start. Now I don't know how to start it any other way.
We're all over the place today. That's okay. That's okay.
We are all over the place.
Yeah. So for those that just joined us, we're 18 minutes in. I implore you to go back and kind of watch what we covered a little bit earlier. But my name is Scott Hendrick, and I just wrapped up a 26-year career in the Air Force. And I was in aircraft maintenance and electronic warfare for 26 years. And so that came with some challenges for sure. It was a heck of a ride. And it was, in 22 years, I moved 11 times, which is a blistering pace. And so now I have, learned over the past 26 years of what is truly important. And so that's pretty special, to learn at this stage of my life, and not, so I still have the rest of my time to maximize that for sure. But so how did I get with Liberty OVE? I think that's a good spot, right?
How did you get with Liberty OVE? Because, so are you the founder, or are you co-founder?
No, I can't take credit. No, I can't take credit for anything. There's a great story behind every instance, and I'm going to share it with you now. So when I deployed in 2015, I went to the Middle East, and because of what I was doing in aircraft maintenance, in avionics specifically, I got to see a lot of film, a lot of film. And when I first got over there, we would look at film, and we were blowing up, infrastructure and things, military targets and high interest, people as well. And at first it it was exhilarating, right? To after 22, at this time I'm right around 21 years in the military. And, we're actually doing what we've been trained to do our whole career. And so that was very, very fulfilling, and it was energizing, and it was amazing, right? We watched these films, we're like, yeah, we did it, right? We got the bad guy. And then about 2.5 weeks later, 3 weeks later, you wake up in the middle of the night and you're having, you're seeing that vivid display of what you watched 2 weeks ago. And that's not, that's very unsettling, right? So you rock it out of bed, you have night sweats and night terrors and flashbacks and all that stuff, right? And so that was my first real, second kind of introduction to PTSD. And I didn't know what it was, right? I mean, I wasn't with Liberty, I wasn't helping anybody else. I was just Scott in the Air Force working. So I came home, and my wife, did an amazing job of having the welcome home kind of thing, right? The squadron came out. She had banners made. The kids had T-shirts made. It was really something special, right? And anybody who had been through that as a military member, when they come home, even if you were on a flight that was 14, 15, 16 hours long. You lose a whole day actually coming back and forth. You're super excited to see your family. You're super excited to see your kids. You're just on cloud nine because the last 180 or 270 or 365 days are finally done, right? So I, much the same, came up the jetway and got off the plane, and the kids ran up to me, and I was done. Like, no emotion, no smiles, no levity, no nothing. And I didn't know why, right? I didn't know why. It just wasn't there. And about a week later, I had a friend reach out to me and was like, hey, there's something wrong with you. And I was like, I was halfway through a bottle of scotch. I'm like, there are no problems with me right now. Because that's what people do, right? That's what people do. They self-medicate, and that's what I was doing. And so they said, look, we know a guy who works with PTSD, folks who are struggling with PTSD. We kind of think you have it. Let's get you down there and let's get you some help. And I was very reluctant, first off, because I'm like, I don't have PTSD. Like, I wasn't being shot at. I didn't pull the trigger. Nothing directly came at me. Like, I was safely thousands of miles away from the combat. I just happened to see what was going on. And so I was running, on a squadron at the same time. And I knew a person who was struggling with PTSD. And I said, okay, I said, I'll make you a deal. I'll come if I get to bring this guy with me too. And they said, sure, absolutely. So we went down there and we learned a new protocol, right? And instantly it paid dividends. Not just for me, but for the guy I brought down with me too. It radically transformed his life. He had been suffering with PTSD since he was 17 years old. And it was just a blessing to see him bloom into this amazing human being, super high functioning, just like top notch. And, I was able to let go of that negative emotion that was affixed to it. So I learned how to do that, several years ago, and no one kind of really knows what it is. They're like, hey, do you do that thing? Right? So people would come in my office and they're like, hey, I'm struggling. I'm like, all right, let's sit down. And then I would quickly determine if it was PTSD or not. And I would work with them, and we would high five, and they'd be out the office, right? And then right back to being productive. And people would say, hey, do you do that thing? And so I had a cousin of mine call me and said, hey, do you do that thing? And I'm like, yeah, I still do the thing. And she's like, look, I know a guy who is suffering with PTSD really, really bad. And I said, okay, what do you want me to do, right? And so she said, look, would you be willing to work with him? And I said, well, the question is would he be willing to work with me? And she said, well, let me talk to him. So she talked to him, and I guess it was just faith in action. He called me, and we kind of talked through it. And he is Mike Murray, who you had on a couple weeks ago. And he is the president and founder of Liberty Organization for Veterans and Emergency Responders. And so we talked for about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and he had been through all kinds. If you go back and watch his interview, he talks about all the different stuff that he went through. I mean, I'm talking botched surgeries and close contact. And so I said, look, here's the deal, right? So we called on the phone one night. I'm in Florida. He's in Virginia Beach. And I said, I'll make you a deal. I will fly up and work with you for free. And if it doesn't work, you'll never see me again. No sweat off your back, none off mine. My family's in Virginia anyway. I'll come hang out with them for a few days, and I'll fly back to Florida. No problem. I said, but, when it does work, what I want you to do is I want you to add this to your nonprofit organization. And once you feel that change, I think we have a civic responsibility to take this nationwide. And he was like, he's a retired Marine. I'm Air Force. He gave me some crap, right? And I gave him some crayons. I mean, it's just what we do, right? And so I flew up there and I worked with him. And for the first time since 2003, right? So we're talking 19 years ago, he was able to verbalize his trauma and talk about it with zero negative emotion attached to it. Just like we're having this conversation right now, he was able to talk about one of the most horrific days in his entire life with zero negative emotion. And he looked at me and I looked at him, and he kind of, once he was able to, he could tell that story. He's like, I guess we got something here. And I was like, yeah, we do. And so that's where we started. He had been around since January that year. And then, so I met him in July. So about 7 months later, we radically transformed the focus of Liberty OVE, and, haven't looked back. We brought Dr. Janelle Royster. We had an opportunity to bring her on board. We brought her on board, and we have been training clinicians. We've been training veterans, sheriff's departments, firefighters, everybody that we can train to do this protocol at the peer-to-peer level since. And now we're up to about 30 practitioners and probably 30-ish people that can do it on the peer-to-peer level, which is truly amazing. With where we started, kind of how we got together, and then where we are now. And next year, we have a goal. We've helped roughly 250 people in the past 5-6 months. I think it took us some time to kind of get our bearings and get our plan down, and then start executing the plan. But we've helped about 250 people in about 4 to 6 months, and so for 2023. We want to get 2,500 people, not 250 people. We want to help 2,500.
So that's insane. So in 6 months that you've been on, that you brought this to Liberty OVE, over 250 people. That's insane.
Yeah. So it took us about 4 months to, there's a lot of things we had to build from scratch, right? So the website. This is one of the things about a nonprofit that people don't talk about, right? They're like, hey, we need a website. Something as simple as a website. So and Mike said, look, because we speak the same talk, right? Mike's like, I need a website, go execute. I'm like, got it, right? It's all, we're in the military. We're not, but we are. And so I'm like, okay, I'll go out and get quotes for a website, right? And so I wrote down a hit list of all the things I needed functionality-wise in a website, and I reached out to every company, independent contractor, everybody I could find, and the average cost was like $5,000 for a single website. And I was like, well, that's not efficient. So I taught myself how to build a website, right? So I just learned it and started doing it and built Liberty's website, right? I think we're up to, probably 50, 60 pages if you counted them all. But, and the same thing, right? He's like, hey, we need products. We need T-shirts. We need hats. We need, everything. Water bottles. I want the entire thing, right? So I'm like, I got you, boss. And so I run out again, right? And I go, I'm talking to T-shirt people, and they're like, yeah, we can get you T-shirts. Well, everybody can get you T-shirts, but they'll, charge you an arm and a leg. And so I think the first quote I got for T-shirts was like $4,000, right? And I'm like, we don't have $4,000. What am I going to do with, and then I got to take them back and forth and go to the post office and whatever, right? And so I learned how to do graphics design, and then I taught myself how to, set up drop shipping. And I collaborated with a friend of mine who has his own business, apparel business. I'm going to give a shameless plug to Ty Orr from Sworn to Serve. He needs to be on one of your shows because that dude is unstoppable. Ty Orr, if you hear me, you're out there, sworntoserve.com. Go check out his apparel line. He's a huge Liberty supporter. Matter of fact, he donates 25% of all of his sales to Liberty Nation so we can help serve those who have served. So, Ty, thank you. Can't thank you enough. You're awesome, dude. Everything that you taught me, is coming to fruition, which is super, super awesome. But the same thing, right? So all of our shirts, all of our shirts here, logo design, everything, we had to learn from scratch, and we taught ourselves how to do it. And we just kept, like Ty says, we failed up. We keep failing up. Fail up, fail up, fail up. So
as long as you don't go bottom, that's it.
Yeah. We just kept going up. We're failing up. We're seasoned failures right now, because people, and I want to talk about this real quick.
Yep.
People see failure as the antithesis to success. I fell victim to it, right? Like everything, we keep score. We keep score on everything, right? Sports, whatever it is, we keep score. Academics, right? We keep score. Failure is not the antithesis to success. It is part of success. Mm-hmm. It's the building blocks of success, right? Very few people, can pull back an arrow and hit something the very first time. And that's the way it is, right? So our website was an absolute train wreck when we started it. But now it's functioning, and we have a ton of capability in there, right? We have our own scheduling. We have our own scheduling built into the website, right? If you need a trip session and you're like, hey, I need help, you can look at all 30 practitioners, all of their availability is in there, and what best works for you, you schedule it. And that person gets a notification, you get a notification. We didn't know how to do that. We failed up. We got it now. But that's what we do. You just keep plugging away, because when we get frustrated, when we get impatient, we have to remind ourselves, right? Like whatever frustration I'm feeling with this website or this shirt design or whatever it is, it pales in comparison to the individual who's suffering from PTSD, who drinks themselves to sleep at night, right? Whose family is left, their kids are no longer around, their job, they got fired, the most horrific things you can possibly imagine. That comes out in PTSD. It just does. And, that's when you have to take a step back and say, you know what, like this, we're going to be okay. Like keep working for those dudes and ladies and it'll be fine. Right. And so, but that's what we did. We just, it took us about 4 months to learn that. And that was a tough 4 months to build all those things, right? To build all of the brochures, to do the curriculum, right? Dr. Royston and I sat down and we built the whole curriculum. That was painstaking. Same way with the protocol, right? Every single word has a purpose, whether it's, neurolinguistics or VKD, visual kinesthetic disassociation. Every single word drives a result, right? So we had to be very, very, very strategic and smart about where we put all this stuff because it does matter, right? And the proof is in the pudding, right? Like I said before, we've done 2 studies. We're up to 250 people, and the efficacy rate's 97%. So, that was forged in the flames during that 4-month time period where, our hair was on fire all day long, because we knew what we had, and we knew the impact we could have, across the entire nation, across the whole world. Right. So that's where we had to keep focused, as well. But yeah, running a nonprofit is not easy.
Running any type of either for-profit or nonprofit is not easy. It's, and it takes a team to do that. And that's basically has been my life lesson the last 6 months. And when you said that you had to do your own website, well, I hired somebody, but then there were so many changes. I thought, well, I'll learn how to do it that way, because it takes time, right? And people charge you by the hour, and it's just like, holy
Absolutely
crap, right? So I learned it, and then didn't I screw it all up? So then I ended up having to have her fix it anyways. But and I love what you said about mistakes, because mistakes for me, it's just like, to me, nothing's ever a mistake. Even my ex, I learned from it. I learned what not to accept in a relationship. I learned every mistake I've made has made me stronger and has given me a life lesson. So no matter what, I don't believe in a mistake. I just believe that it's a life lesson. So I'm kind of on the same page with you on that one, because we learn from that. It's not like earth shattering. It's just what it is. So
it's life.
Go. As Eric Anderson says, take the lesson and leave the baggage. He's got a very deep voice. He was on the show the other night. So, yeah, great guy. Another veteran. So, yeah, I'm full of them. You guys just come out of the woodwork.
Yeah. Which is weird, because less than 0.5% of the entire U.S. population actually serves in the United States military. Do you think it'd be way more? Do you think it'd be way more? But think about it. The Air Force recruiting goals for 2022 is only 26,000 people.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's very, very small percentage of population in America that actually serve.
That is interesting, because I swear that I've probably had more veterans than civilians on my shows in the last 6 months. It's just like I said to Kimberly, I'm like, I have to meet new people, because I love all my veterans, but I don't want the world to think that that's all I serve. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think the deal is, we learn a lot in the military. The military invests in us, a huge amount. And I was blessed enough to give the Veterans Day speech here at Destin in the Harbor Walk Village. And one of the things that I kind of narrowed in on specifically during Veterans Day is, it's not just about honoring our veterans. Because it was the first time that I've been on the other side of the fence. I've been active duty the whole time, and now I'm a veteran. And so, my speech was more specifically around the veterans that could be struggling, right? Because that's a tough transition if you think about it. Since we were 18 years old, we've been told when to be somewhere, right? What to wear, which wasn't bad, right? So for 26 years, I never had to think about, am I going to wear this brown T-shirt or that brown T-shirt? It was a clean T-shirt, and then we moved on with life. And so, every single second of the day, from when you eat to when you launch out aircraft, to when you recover aircraft, to when something needs to be fixed, torn apart, everything is planned out. It's perfectly chaos orchestrated from day one. And then you retire, and every single bit of that instantly disappears, right? And so that's where, that's when veterans start struggling. And it's super, super hard. I can tell you, because I'm living it, right? I'm in the middle of the throes of what it means to establish a healthy routine, right? And all those things, because for the longest part, for a vast majority of our adult life, all of that has been taking care of us from a planning perspective, right?
Right.
And then, so I focused on those veterans and said, look, and I told a story about my dad who grew and expanded a little league football team in our hometown into something that is just amazing, right? Amazing right now. And, he was in the Army National Guard. He learned those principles of teamwork. He learned how to work as a team. He learned how to motivate people, when the right amount of motivation is, when to pull back and when to push. He did that with me my whole life. And those skill sets that we get to practice on each other and say, man, that worked amazingly well, or that was a train wreck. We learned that over, 10, 20, 30 years of a military career. So when we come out of the military, those skills are sought after, right? Can you lead an organization? Can you, explain what a vision is? Can you explain how each and every single individual in whatever company it is, why they're important and how they contribute to the overall success of the company, right? Whether it's the Walmart door greeter or the person who counts the money or the guy who cuts the checks for payroll. Each and every single one of those people, you have to know that you are valued and you're important and you're part of the team and you are, you're paying dividends in the organization, right? Your worth and your value continues to go up, right? So those skills, so you're like, well, that's weird. We get a lot of military guys that do that, and that's because we take those amazing skill sets that we learn in the military and we apply them in the civilian world, and we're like, man, this works really good. and people kind of gravitate towards that. And that's our comfort zone, right? I mean, to be honest, if you have, people who are high functioning leaders, specifically in the military, that's your wheelhouse. That's your safe space, right? When you're leading other people, when you're developing goals, when you're pushing an organization, those things that's a comfort zone, right? Some other people will be like, how many people? 500 people? No, I can't do that. But for, guys like myself, guys like Greg Bicknell, right? Like he's led 500 person squadron before. I've led 500 person squadron before. And you learn how to operate as a team, because you cannot be the single point of failure, because it'll sink the whole organization. So you have to build trust, right? How do you build trust in a trust depleted society?
Right. Nobody trusts anybody.
That's tough. That's one of the toughest things to do, right? You have to be relatable. You have to be trustworthy. You have to be, people have to see themselves in you, a piece of you, right? And so for me, the best way that, when I built trust is to share vulnerability. Here it is. This is me. This is who I am, right? I talked about, I had a family member who committed suicide when I was 15 years old, and he was a little bit younger than I was. And that, sharing that vulnerability on stage, you'd be surprised how many people would come up to me afterwards and be like, hey, I had a family member do the same thing. Well, now we're building a bond, right? That's a scar. Scott Mann calls it, the generosity of scars. If you haven't seen that on YouTube, you have to watch that. And so that's what we share. We share the same scar, right? And for me, wow, like college dropout, right? I went from National Honor Society to from high school athlete, National Honor Society, scholarships to my first college. Like it was written in the history books. Like I'm going to go on and play college football and whatever. And, 6 months later, I was back at home living on my mom's couch. I was a college dropout. I share that with people, right? Now, there's only 30% of the entire American population has a degree. 70% of the people either don't have a degree or dropped out. So you think about it from a numbers perspective. If I'm looking at 500 people, right? What are the chances that there's going to be some college dropouts in there? And I get to share that story about the disappointment that I felt, laying on my mom's couch when I dropped out of college. And then, how did I rebound, right? And so there's a hero's journey story, where you get to rebound, you get to rewrite history, and people gravitate towards that because they're like, man, I have the same story, right? I dropped out of college, or I screwed up and made a mistake, right? And that's how you build trust in a trust depleted society, which is needed now more than ever, because we don't, for generally speaking, we do not trust others. We just don't.
No. And that's not just a veteran thing. That's like a societal thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Talking trust from an American populace. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's been times that I haven't trusted people, but they've shown who they were. I just didn't, I give people the benefit of the doubt until you show me who exactly you are.
You saw people for who you want them to be, not for who they are. There's a thing, expectation versus reality type thing. But yeah, so, when you say, hey, a lot of these veterans are kind of like gravitating and coming out of the woodworks, I think that's why. I think that's why, because we have, highly trained skill set that we learn and is forged in the flames, right? That leadership skill set is, and I'm not saying every person that joins the military is a phenomenal leader, right? I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you learn those principles, you worked really hard at it, and you were altruistic in your approach, then you came out with a lot of tools in your tool bag. That's gonna drive you to the top. You're naturally going to gravitate, whether it's in your community, whether it's in a company, or society, or wherever you lean in, you're probably going to gravitate to the top. So it kind of doesn't surprise me that folks are, veterans are kind of rising to the top.
Right. Well, and you also attract what like versus like, right? And I've always been a high leadership, I was never able to develop it in the places that I've worked because they want to keep you here. And I'm like, I don't put up with the shit that normal people put up with. And I'll tell you, I don't care who you are. And I'll tell you, that this needs to change. And 9 times out of 10, I'm right. That doesn't mean that I'm not wrong occasionally. But I mean, I'm not afraid to just to let people know that I care either. Where in leadership today, in the 9 to 5, there is none of that shit. Like nobody cares, or very few care.
Right.
And when you're in leadership, you have to care. That's you. You're not a number. I'm with you 8 to 9 hours a day. I'm with you longer than I am with my husband. And so, Correct. Of course, I'm going to make sure that it's a damn good working environment, and you don't get that reciprocated. I can count on one hand the amount of people that gets reciprocated back in the workforce. And that's sad. That is not leadership. That is just putting your time in, clocking in.
No, that's the difference between management and leadership, right? I mean,
yeah.
Management is doing things right? Like it's by the book, right? Square peg, square hole.
Yeah.
That's what it is, right? I mean, it is what it is.
Exactly. So, because we're almost getting time to wrap up here, tell us again about you have a September 24th, that event. Tell us again what that's all about.
Wow. So that is we are having a Live Life PTSD free benefit concert, a run, a walk, a ruck, and a ride, PTSD awareness ride, right? So motorcycle, there's going to be running. Don't ask me to run, right? Unless you put the word beer in front of it, right? If it's a beer run, I got you.
We'll put it as a carrot.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding. So we're going to have, starting first thing in the morning, we are going for the people who like to run, right? Those people are important too. It is what it is. So they're going to do, we have a 5K run and walk for those folks. We're also having a 10K ruck march. And we have a wonderful company that's coming out. It's going to supply some supplements, things of that nature. We have medals for first through third in all categories. And then roughly about an hour after those folks start, we have the VFW Riders of Hopewell, Virginia were gracious enough to take the lead on our PTSD awareness ride. And so we're going to be riding from Ashland, Virginia out to King William, Virginia. We've coordinated with all of our local police to have escorts, right? So that's going to be pretty cool. If you've never seen the Liberty OVE truck, it's a big 2500 Chevy dually that's wrapped fully. It's super, super cool. So we'll have them out front. And then the I Got Your Six Foundation, the owner of that has a Jeep that's fully wrapped, which is really, really cool, military themed. They're going to be bringing up the rear, and then we'll have police escorts on the front and backside. So we're going to be doing that. And then once everybody gets back to Ashley Harley Davidson there in Richmond, we will start our concert starting at 1, and we'll have bands playing from 1 all the way till 10 o'clock at night. It's going to be super awesome. We have Dave Bray, USA. If you've never heard of him, super great guy. He was a Navy corpsman. He was actually traveled with the sniper team for the United States Marine Corps. He got out. He does all patriotic music. Man, like that will fill you up. So we're super, super blessed to have him. And then, what's that?
He should be on the show.
Well, it's going to take some time, but maybe we can get him on the show. Let me see what I can do. I'll see what I can do.
Dude.
I'll see what I can do. And then, not to be outdone, we have Creed Fisher, who has the #2 country music album in the entire nation right now. He's a rising star coming out of Texas. And we work with Seventh Planet Entertainment Group. Miss Kelly over there totally hooked us up. And so we're going to have two huge headliners. I mean, both of them, they swing a heavy stick. I can't even say that this person is opening or they're both. Like, we just have a powerhouse full of people that are going to be there. We also have Lady Smith, who's another local band to the Richmond area, the 757 area, and the OGs, who Mike plays with. And then we're having Polly Wyndham, who is an Army reservist, and she has a great voice. And so she's going to be playing amongst all those. So when we're doing set changes and things of that nature, she's going to get up there and rock it acoustically. Just her and her guitar. She sounds amazing. And if you want to hear some of her music, you can go over to our Facebook page and kind of see that. We put some videos up there as teasers. She has American Daughter is an amazing song. So, and then what else do we have? Oh, so we have an individual that's coming, Mr. Sam, and he's working on a bill, some legislation that is getting a lot of bipartisan support. And I know that's weird in America right now, but it is. And so our veterans, we have what's called a VA home loan, right? I mean, it's secured funding for the veteran to get their first home, right? Which is amazing. Mm-hmm. I've used it multiple times, actually. And then they're doing the exact same thing, but for emergency responders, right? Police, fire, EMS, and cops. So, man, what a great benefit. And they're working super, super hard right now to get that pushed through the House and Senate and get that signed into law so we can establish that for our emergency responders, because they sacrifice just as much as we do. And if you look at the median incomes of all of them and the longevity that they all serve, it's all equivalent to what our veterans do, right? So it just only makes sense to help those folks. So he's going to have the spotlight on the stage and talk about that legislation to gain interest and help our emergency responders. Because you think about it, if you're making $40,000, $50,000 a year, I don't know if you've looked at the price of houses here recently. Holy smokes! And to afford a house on a $50,000 to $60,000 salary, and you have a family and you have kids, and oh man, that's got to be hard to do. So, can't thank him enough. You can go on our website, read some more about the act that he's pushing through. Can't thank him enough for coming out. We also reached out. I think there's going to be a flyover. It's going to be helicopters fly over. Yeah, well, it's going to be huge. We got a smoke show that's going to happen. It's going to be red, white, and blue. What else? Man, we got the 50 Tiki Foundation, which is all the cops in the local area. They're on board with us now, and they're going to be handling all the drink sales, right? So they're taking that on. So every beer that's purchased, every soda, everything goes back to help the 50 Tiki Foundation there in Richmond, Virginia. Can't thank those guys enough. Super, super awesome. Also, we talked about our nonprofits that are going to be there. We call it Liberty Nation, all the folks that are helping us out, to include our VFW riders from Hopewell for doing all that. That's amazing. We have VRR and Project Vet Relief. Can't thank those guys enough. They're huge, huge, huge heavy hitters down in Florida. We're working with them to try to expand that nationwide. We're going to take that footprint that they have in Florida that works so well, that helps so many nonprofit organizations, ours included. We could not be pulling this off if we didn't have the backing of Project Vet Relief, which is a huge and amazing thing. And we want to expand that nationwide. If they're ready to take that nationwide, we're standing by to help them. I Got Your Six Foundation, him and his team are coming out. Man, if you've never heard of those guys, they're the adventure therapy. They do it. Like jumping out of planes, perfectly good function planes, jumping out. Nope, I'm not doing that. But they do adventure therapy.
Skydiving.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing. It's called splat. That's what it's called. No, but
that's what my husband thinks of if people go in a boat, that you're going to die. As soon as you get in the boat, the water's going to kill you. So that's what my husband thinks of that with water.
So those guys are absolutely amazing. They have a wonderful nonprofit organization, and they take people on adventure therapy. They do. You want to go swim with sharks? They go swim with sharks. You want to do rock climbing? They have a rock climbing event coming up here soon. Skydiving, the whole 9 yards, right? You want to skateboard on the alligator? Go for it. Like, that's what their jam is. And so how do we help them, right? How does this all, like, how is jumping out of planes and Liberty OVE connected? That doesn't make any sense, right? So what we do is we like to collaborate with folks. Adventure therapy, equine therapy, outdoor fishing, right? Wingman Guided Services, they help us out huge. They're donating an entire offshore fishing trip that's going to be auctioned off at the event. Super thankful for Jason and his team for doing that, which is amazing. So we like to show up and be force multipliers for whatever nonprofit event it is, right? And you're like, well, how does that matter? So if you have PTSD and you show up and you want to jump out of airplanes, cool, man, go for it. We are all for that. Let's work with you first. Let's get you through the protocol. Neutralize the effects of PTSD. So when you jump out of that airplane, you're getting the best experience ever. Same way with equine therapy, right? Love Hope Ranch out in Texas. We want to get out there and we want to work with everybody, because a lot of people are like, yeah, it took me 2 to 3 days to connect with the horse because I had to learn how to drop my stuff. The horse helped me, but I wish it was a little bit longer so I could have a little bit better time. So we're partnering with those folks so we can go out there and neutralize that PTSD first day, right into it. Because our protocol only takes about 30 to 40 minutes, right? Start to finish. And then you can go connect with the horse instantly and get the most out of that equine therapy. So that's what we're doing. We just want to be force multipliers in all the nonprofits, right? And that's the kicker. In nonprofit world, in business world, right? Some folks have a resource scarcity mindset because it is tough. Every single penny is hard to come by. And we get that. We totally get that. And so what we're trying to do is be force multipliers as part of your program. I'm not taking money out of your pocket. I'm not asking for anything else. We'll go out and do that fundraising. We just want to partner with you and help your clients, whoever that is, right? Whether it's being with the horses, if it's wrestling alligators, jumping out of airplanes, rock climbing, deep sea fishing, drag racing, whatever it is. We just want to lean in and help each individual neutralize the effects of PTSD so they get the best experience on whatever that is. And I think that's a goodness for everybody. It's an absolute goodness for everybody, because then they'll say, yeah, like I didn't even know I was suffering from this, or yeah, I knew I was suffering from it. And I had a great experience with them, and I had a great experience with you guys. And so I think that's how we're just leaning in and investing in human beings to get the most out of each and every single person.
I love that. So where can people get the tickets for your fundraiser on the 24th?
You remember I said fail upwards? So I learned how to build ticket sales on the website. Great segue. So you can go to libertyove.com, scroll down to the middle, get tickets now, and then you can go in and buy your tickets for, if you want to do just the run, you can go do that. That's $20. If you want to do the motorcycle ride, that's $25. If you want to go to just the concert, that's $25. If you want to do a combination of any of those, $35. So go to libertyove.com today. And we have a limited number of tickets, right? We're only selling 2,000 tickets because of the venue. And we want to make it the absolute best experience. And so we're not going to overcrowd that. So we ask each and every single person, get your tickets now as compared to waiting, because when you get closer to the door, we can't use our online system, which means we have overhead with our Square and all that stuff. So ticket prices will go up the day of the event. So please get your stuff in advance. That way, when you show up, we'll have an express lane for you, VIP status. We'll give you a bottle of water, napkin to pat your head. It may be hot outside. And then we'll scan your ticket and you'll be in. You'll be enjoying music all day long from 1 until 10 o'clock at night.
I love that. Absolutely love that. So, Scott, wow, we're past the hour. And I just want to say thank you for coming on and sharing your heart about Liberty OVE. It truly is an amazing organization. Definitely go to www.libertyove.com to get your tickets today, or even if you wanted to make a donation if you can't make the event, or
Absolutely.
if you are a veteran and you need help, definitely get onto the website, libertyove.com, and
Get help
right now.
Yeah,
So, absolutely. So thanks for those of you that are in the comments. Happy Labor Day to everybody.
Absolutely. Enjoy it.
Thank you, Scott, for being here. And with that, have an amazing night, folks. And we'll see you same time, same channel next week. And be unstoppable.